Good morning, everyone. My name is Wang Yuyuan from City University, Malaysia, and I'm honored to present our research, Reframing Chinese Ethnic Dance in Higher Education, Curriculum Structure and Cultural Integration in this prestigious international conference. This study addressed the structural dynamics of Chinese ethnic dance teaching in higher education and purposes an integrated curriculum design for sustainable cultural inheritance. I hope our findings can inspire cross-cultural dialogues on traditional art education in university contexts. To structure this presentation clearly, I will walk you through 10 core agendas, starting with the research background and the theoretical foundations, then introducing our methodology and key findings on structural constraints. I will then detail our proposed curriculum design, assessment model, and practical implementation, followed by implementations, conclusion, and future research directions. I will leave time for questions at the end, so please feel free to note your thoughts. Let's begin with the research background and the rationale. Over the past decade, Chinese universities have been tasked with a dual mission, transmitting professional knowledge and safeguarding cultural heritage. This is particularly critical for Chinese ethnic dance, an embodied practice that encapsulates regional histories, social practices, and collective embodied memory. However, ethnic dance is taught within a rich institutional framework of seminar schedules, credit requirements, and regimented assessments, as shown as colleagues noted. Chinese higher education reform since 1978 has overemphasized standardization and merit outcomes, often at the cost of curricular depth. This has created a critical gap. Technical accuracy and stage performance are the core of teaching and assessment, while cultural meaning is reduced to superficial background knowledge, not core learning outcomes. This gap leads to our central research question: how can we restructure Chinese ethnic dance curricula to integrate embodied technical training and in-depth cultural understanding in higher education? Our study is grounded in three interrelated theoretical pillars. First, cultural identity theory argues that cultural awareness is not formed by passive exposure, but by guided engagement and interpretive opportunities. Second, embodied cognition research includes that movement itself is, is a form of knowledge, not primarily and dormant to conceptual knowledge. Third, cultural sustainability theory emphasizes that heritage opportunity continuity comes from active present, participation and contemporary reinterpretation, not static preservation. These theories frame our analysis of current teaching practices and the design of our intervention. For methodology, we adopted a quantitative conceptual research approach, focusing on curriculum analysis and pedagogical reform without connecting new empirical data. We conducted a systematic literature review of peer review articles published between 2020 and 2024 across four major databases, using five core keywords: ethnic dance education, higher education curriculum, cultural sustainability, embodied learning, and intangible cultural heritage in universities. We applied strict selection criteria to ensure relevance to higher education and dance cultural sustainability links. Our analysis followed three stages: identifying common teaching patterns, using cultural sustainability and responsive pedagogy to explain their limitations, and developing a feasible instructional model adapted to existing university institutional conditions. It is important to note our study's limitations. It focuses on Chinese university ethnic dance and lacks empirical classroom data, with its contribution lying is in structural pattern discovery and evidence-based design suggestions. Our core analysis findings reveal that the primary problem of Chinese ethnic dance teaching in higher education is structural misemphasis. Note of lack of cultural content is curricular. Three interchained structural constraints shape students' learning experiences and hinder the integration of technical training and cultural understanding, and these constraints are not just pedagogical choices but are reinforced by institutional factors like semester schedules, performance expectations, and grading systems. Next, I will elaborate on each constraint and its negative impacts on cultural inheritance and student learning. The first constraint is performance-centered evaluation. In most university programs, stage performance is the ultimate outcome of ethnic dance courses, with evaluation focused on technical indicators, synchronization, rhythm, accuracy, movement line, and expression control. As Reasoner demonstrated, grading structure heavily shapes student learning priorities. If assessment weighs technical accuracy most heavily, students inevitably spend the majority of their time repeating and correcting physical details, while cultural inquiry is sidelined and ungraded. Second task: this reduces ethnic dance from the accurately reach practice to a set of stylized movements, erasing its inherent cultural complexity and the social hierarchical context and gave birth to it. The second constraint is the rigid separation of cultural context that embodies studio practice. In current teaching, cultural context is typically delivered as a non-off lecture and the start of the course, then quickly sidelines as rehearsal intensifies performance. The third constraint is limited formal reflective engagement in current ethnic dance teaching. Reflection exists only as informal classroom discussion or random teaching comments. It is never included in graded formal assessment. This is a crucial mismatch with the core mission of university education, which is to cultivate crucial thinking and interpretive skills. In responses to these three structural constraints, we proposed an integrated curriculum design as a core solution, one that requires no additional course hours, owning the redistribution of existing studio time and rebalancing of dance routines. To make this integrated design operable, we formalized the five-step cyclical framework for weekly studio sessions, or within the original class time, no extension required. Curriculum reform cannot succeed without aligned assessment reform, without changing evaluation standards. Any pedagogical change is normally symbolic. We proposed a balanced graded assessment structure that maintains high artistic and technical rigor for dance education while formally incorporating cultural interpretation and structured reflection as core graded in learning outcomes. To illustrate the feasibility of our integrated design, we present practical implementation scenario, Mongolian dance model, a classical Chinese ethnic dance form. This entire implementation uses only existing course time and resources with no additional inputs. The integrated design has far-reaching theoretical and institutional implications, not only for Chinese ethnic dance education, but for traditional and indigenous art education globally. First, it addresses a universal tension in higher education, the prioritization of visible quantifiable outcomes like stage performance over invisible in deep learning like cultural understanding. Second, it aligns with UNESCO's global cultural policy which frames heritage transmission as contemporary reinterpretation, not static preservation. Third, it enhances the academic legitimacy of dance education, a practice-based discipline, by embedding contextual analysis and reflection into assessment, align it with the university's core goal of cultivating critical thinking. Fourth, it contributes to the decolonization of knowledge production by recognizing embodied dance practice as a valid form of knowledge. It changes the traditional hierarchy of textual scholarship in formal education. Let me conclude with our core finding, future research directions, and acknowledgements. First, our core conclusions. The current teaching of Chinese ethnic dance in higher education is constrained by the three structural patterns that reduce cultural inheritance to superficial practice, but it can be addressed with a feasible resources-neutral reform, integrating technique, context, and reflection in every teaching cycle. Assessment aligns is the in-shaping of sustainable reform, as it formalizes the cultural learning as core outcomes. Most importantly, our design is transferable. The same instructional principles can be adapted for the teaching of traditional and indigenous art forms in higher education institutions across the globe. Finally, cultural sustainability in higher education institutions across the globe. Finally, cultural sustainability in higher education is not a matter of adding more heritage content, but of institutional alignment across curriculum, assessment, and teacher training. For for future research, we propose three directions. First, empirical classroom studies to test the integrated model's impact on student learning outcomes. Second, long-term tracking of how the model shapes students' cultural engagement and identity awareness. Third, cross-cultural adaptation of the model for other indigenous and traditional art forms beyond Chinese ethnic dance. I would like to express my sincere gratitude to City University Malaysia for its support, to all the scholars who researched the foundation for this study, and to the conference chairs, reviewers, and all of you for your attention and thoughtful engagement. This research is open to cross-cultural collaboration, and I welcome your questions and discussions. Thank you very much.